Hello everyone. It's time to continue reading Dr. Theophil Christen's little booklet. This is part 4, page 18. When production develops freely, unhampered by general economic crisis, and there is danger of what our narrow-minded economists call overproduction, the National Currency Office must bring more and more money into circulation to meet the increasing supply of produce and to prevent a fall of prices. The Currency Office can bring new money into circulation in several ways. For example, by lending money at a low rate of interest, or by redeeming government loans. It is easy to see that the first of these measures favors an all-round fall in the rate of interest. The second measure, the redemption of government loans, has the same effect. The demand for loans decreases, and the offer of loans increases in proportion to the amount of debt repaid by the government. The result is inevitably a fall in the rate of interest. That the fall is general is easily perceived if the matter is examined from the standpoint of a debtor. No debtor will pay a creditor 4% on a loan when he can obtain money at 3% from the National Currency Office. Section 5. Non-hoardable paper currency or freed money. Prices depend not alone upon the quantity of money issued, but also upon the rapidity of its circulation. Usually, but not always, the two factors are connected. If prices rise because more money is in circulation, every merchant knows that trade is good. He buys more frequently, and in this way increases the rapidity of circulation of money. And in the opposite case, when prices fall through decrease in the quantity of money in circulation, the merchant postpones orders, and so decreases the rapidity of the money circulation. A government tolerating money to be hoarded tolerates that its citizens suffer unemployment and misery without natural cause, all because the circulation of the economic blood, money, is interrupted. When in 1929 the price level began to drop, the Federal Reserve System in USA, instead of issuing more money at a reduced interest rate, withdrew money from circulation and accelerated thus the fall of prices, resulting in business stagnation and failures, in unemployment, and a general depression. Once the downward trend was underway with its economic havoc and general economic insecurity, delayed efforts on the part of the Federal Reserve System from 1930 on to increase the money issue and raise the price level were condemned to futility. Money was reluctant to investment because of the futility of these efforts. It was largely taken out of circulation, hoarded. The banks grew full of money and did not know what to do with it. The same discrepancy between money issue and price level showed up in France, when in 1926 a fall of the price level by decrease of the money circulation was initiated. In spite of increased issue after the downward trend had become definitive, the price level continued to fall. Free economy teaches that the price level is dependent on the money side, on both the volume and the rapidity of circulation of money. This is not the only difficulty. When the rate of interest falls after the introduction of the stabilized currency, the stream of money into the savings banks and other gathering places of money will gradually decrease, and the private stores of money will be boundless. Someday, at a sign from the stock exchange, this whole mass will appear on the market, causing a devastating rise of prices and destroying the stabilization of the currency. From this it follows that the National Currency Office must control not alone the quantity of notes issued, but the intensity of their circulation. Private stores of money which could at any time undo the work of the Currency Office must cease to exist. Police measures are of course useless, just as they are useless in the case of usury. For thousands of years legislation has endeavored in vain to put an end to usury. But the whole future of currency stabilization depends on the solution of this difficulty. If money cannot be made to circulate, currency stabilization is impossible. The solution of this great problem is given by freed money, invented by Silvio Gesell over 30 years ago, but until quite lately, almost unnoticed. Freed money consists of notes which require a demurrage stamp of a fixed amount, for example, 1,000th of their value every week at the expense of the holders. The holder of a note affixes a stamp to it every Saturday, after which it passes at its full face value for another week. This would equal an annual demurrage rate of 5.2%. By providing for demurrage at the annual rate of 6% in semi-monthly intervals, only 24 stamps of a quarter per cent, or in monthly intervals, only 12 stamps of a 0.5% of the face value of the note would be required. By providing for demurrage at the annual rate of 6% in semi-monthly intervals, only 24 stamps of a quarter per cent, or in monthly intervals, only 12 stamps of a 0.5% of the face value of the note would be required. Figures 6 and 7 show still further simplified money notes, freed for circulation at the ratio of 1% and less of the face value. I have rewritten some of the small print so that it is easier to read. If the notes were issued twice a year instead of annually, the number of stamps would be further reduced to half. For hygienic reasons, the notes, instead of being stamped by their holders, could be overprinted at the holder's expense at post offices or by automatic machines. The principle of depreciation could also be applied without stamping or overprinting. The notes, instead of being kept at their face value, could be allowed to depreciate a fixed amount, the value of the note for any period being found by reference to a table printed on it. Freed money, American currency, is issued in 1, 5, 10, 20, 50, and $100 bills. Small change, coins, may remain in circulation until the end of the first year, when they should be exchanged for new coins. To avoid the necessity of annual issue of new coins, a series of different kinds of coins could be made: round, triangular, square, hexagonal, octagonal, for example, with or without a hole in the center to furnish still greater variety. This would allow the government a wide scope for selection of the annual issue and be sufficient for decades to come by using them alternately and exchanging them with a discount at the end of the year to prevent their hoarding. This would allow the government a wide scope of selection of the annual issue and be sufficient for decades to come by using them alternately and exchanging them with a discount at the end of the year to prevent their hoarding. Freed money at last puts an end to the absurdity of using the same medium of exchange, money. Freed money at last puts an end to the absurdity of using the same medium for exchange, money, and for saving. Freed money is the best medium of exchange, for it must circulate. It cannot be saved or hoarded, because its value visibly diminishes. The holder of freed money will always try to pass on the loss caused by its possession. The holder of freed money will always try to pass on the loss caused by its possession. He can do so by 1. Purchasing produce, 2. Paying wages, 3. Settling old debts, 4. Lending money. In the first case, the forced circulation of freed money increases the demand for produce and so stimulates production. In the second case, it increases the demand for labor and therefore raises the rate of wages. In the third case, it reduces the demand for loans, and in the fourth case, it increases the offer for loans. Thus, the rate of interest, which falls after the stabilization of the currency, is still further reduced by the introduction of freed money. Freed money paralyzes the influence of money hoarders upon the measures of the National Currency Office. Freed money paralyzes the influence of money hoarders upon the measures of the National Currency Office. It must circulate even if the rate of interest falls to zero, for it is better to lend money to a safe debtor, even without interest, than to hoard it and lose the legal depreciation. It should be noted that the legal depreciation affects only the money tokens, that is, the freed money notes, not the assets which money represents, such as deposits in savings banks, loans, mortgages, insurance policies, etc. These are the real medium of saving. They are much safer than before, since the money received upon repayment has lost none of its purchasing power. It should be noted that the legal depreciation affects only the money tokens, that is, the freed money notes, not the assets which money represents, such as deposits in savings banks, loans, mortgages, insurance policies, etc. These are the real medium of saving, and are much safer than before, since the money received upon repayment has lost none of its purchasing power. The demurrage of freed money is a small discomfort. The beneficial effect of the new form of money, in conjunction with stabilization of the currency, is very great. Stabilization of the currency gives freed money a fixed purchasing power, to the advantage not alone of wage earners and creditors, but of employers, who can fix their plans for the future, whereas under the present system they never know how long to trust to a wave of trade prosperity. Freed money has yet another advantage. The stabilization of the currency might with some show of reason be reproached with depriving trade of the beneficial stimulus of a general rise of prices. One could reply that the security of economic life given by a fixed general level of prices is of greater value. But freed money does still better. An annual depreciation of 5.2% in money is equivalent to a general annual rise of prices of 5.2%. With money circulating, the exchange of products and services is safeguarded. Production can go on. Uninterrupted circulation of money, as assured by freed money only, will allow production to go on indefinitely, only limited by human wants, and permit all who work and render services with full proceeds therefrom, and the accumulation of wealth. Uninterrupted circulation of money, as assured by freed money only, will allow production to go on indefinitely, only limited by human wants, and permit all who work and render services the full proceeds therefrom, and the accumulation of wealth. Freed money gives fixed prices and at the same time the desired stimulus to trade. We follow the example of the inflationists without, however, injuring wage earners or creditors. How much economic hardship and suffering could be prevented by the adoption of this scientific monetary system?